Hello again, sixth graders. It's Mrs. Hebert again, and we are moving on to lesson 2, 16.2. Here we're going to talk about mean absolute deviation, or MAD for short. And you'll need 4 sections on your paper, the second section being the biggest, and they're going to go all the way across. In box number 1, we're going to write a couple of definitions. The first one is measure of variability. And the measure of variability is a single number used to describe the spread of a data set. It's also known as a measure of spread. The mean absolute deviation, or the MAD, is the mean of the distances between the data values and the mean of the data set. And that will make more sense as we go forward. Okay, in box number 2, we're going to find the mean absolute deviation for this set of numbers: 60, 58, 54, 56, 63, 65, 62, 59, 56, and 58. So the first step is to find the mean, and I find the mean by adding all those values and then dividing by the number of values. So if I add those up, I am going to get 591, okay? And I'm not going to show the adding, but just know that you need to do that. So 591. And then I'm going to divide by how many values I had, which in this case is 10, and that gives me 59. That is my mean. Then step 2, I find the deviation from the mean for each value. So I look and I say, how far are each of these values from the mean, or from 59? So 60 is 1 from 59. 58 is 1 from 59. 54 is 5 from 59. And I go on, so 59 minus 56 is 3, 63 minus 59 is 4, 65 minus 59 is 6, 62 minus 59 is 3, 59 minus 59 is 0, so I keep that 0 in there. And then 59 minus 56 is 3, and 59 minus 58 is 1. So my deviations are 1, 1, 5, 3, 4, 6, 3, 0, 3, and 1. So for step 3, I'm going to add the deviations and then divide. So I'm going to take 1 plus 1 plus 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6 plus 3 plus 0 plus 3 plus 1. And it's important to keep that 0 so that when I go to divide, I remember to use it as a value to divide by. So when I add that up, I get 27. And then I take 27, divide it by the number of values, which in this case is 10. And I get 2.7. And I could keep that as my MAD, depending on what how specific I need my answer, or I could round up to about 3, and that is my MAD, or my mean absolute deviation. Okay, that's supposed to be an about sign. Okay, in box number 3, we're going to do another example. Here's my set of numbers. So I'm going to add those together, and you can do that on paper. I'm not going to repeat it all. But if I add those numbers all together, I get 449. I divide that by the number of values, which in this case is 9. And my answer is 49.9, which if I want to work with whole numbers, it's going to be about 50. So 44.9 runs up to about 50 for my mean. Now to find the MAD, I find my deviation, or my difference, and I'm going to create a chart here with my numbers. So I'm going to say 46, 47, 56, 48, 46, 52, 57, 52, and 45. And if you can get them all on one line, that's great. But if not, I'm going to chart the deviation of each value from the mean, or the difference of each value from the mean. So 50 minus 46 is 4, 50 minus 47 is 3, 56 minus 50 is 6, 50 minus 48 is 2, 50 minus 46 is 4, 52 minus 50 is 2, 57 minus 50 is 7, 52 minus 50 is 2, and 50 minus 45 is 5. So now I have my deviations, which are 4, 3, 6, 2, 4, 2, 7, 2, and 5. And I'm going to now add those up, add the deviations up. So 4 plus 3 plus 6 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 7 plus 2 plus 5. When I add those up, I get 35. I'm going to divide that by the number of values I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 values. So 35 divided by 9. And that gives me 3.9. And I could leave it at that, but if I wanted to round up to a whole number, it would be about 4. And that would be my MAD. And that's how you calculate and find the mean absolute deviation. Okay, one more example here, and this will be the last one we do. This time we're working with some numbers with decimals, so we're not going to be rounding necessarily always to the nearest number. We could, but it just depends on how accurate of an answer we're going to need. But in this case, we're going to take those numbers and add them up, and I'm not going to show all of that, but you can do it on your paper if you want. So I'm going to take 7.7 plus 7.4 plus 5.4 plus 7.8 plus 6.1 plus 5.2 plus 7.5, etc. I'm going to add these all together, and when I add them up, I'm going to get 66.9. Then I'm going to divide that by how many values there are, which are 10. And so my answer is 6.69, which is about, I could round that, leave it at 6.69 or 6.7, or if I was rounding to a whole number, it would be 7. But just to stay a little bit more accurate, I'm going to keep it at 6.7, just so for comparison's sake. So my mean is 6.7. So for my MAD, I'm going to take this and I'm going to find my distance from my mean. Okay, so again, I'm going to draw an arrow down here. I'm going to change my ink color just so you can see this. And I'm going to say, so here's my chart, so 7.7, 7.4, 5.4, 7.8, 6.1, 5.2, 7.5, 7.9, and if you can keep going on that same line, great, but if not, you can make another row, 6.3, and 5.6. And if you can see, because I'm dealing with decimals that go out to the 10th place, that's why I rounded my mean to the 10th place, because it just makes it easier to find the deviation. So from 6.7 to 7.7, that is 1, and I'm going to change my ink color. From 7.4 to 6.7 is 0.7, and I can find that by just subtracting. 6.7 minus 5.4 is 1.3, so that's my deviation. 7.8 from minus 6.7 is 1.1. 6.1 from 6.7 is 0.6. 6.7 minus 5.2 is 1.5. 7.5 minus 6.7 is 0.8. 7.9 minus 6.7 is 1.2. 6.7 minus 6.3 is 0.4. And 6.7 minus 5.6 is 1.1. Those are my deviations. So now my next step is to take those deviations and add them up. So I'm going to take 1 plus 0.7 plus 1.3 plus 1.1 plus 0.6 plus 1.5 plus 0.8 plus 1.2. And I get for my answer, when I work it out, 9.7. Now that I have that, I'm going to divide by my values. So 9.7 divided by, in this case, there are 10 values. And that gives me, when I divide that up, I get 0.97. And so that would be my MAD. But if I wanted to round it up, it would be 1. Okay? And again, it's going to depend on what the directions say or how specific, how close you need to get your answers. how you're going to round, okay? But that's how you do that, and we're all done. I forgot one part, and that is that, or I didn't forget it, but it didn't see that it didn't mark through. On the, up here on 1.0.7, I forgot the decimal, or it didn't write in, so just make sure you have that decimal in there. And then we have one more page. And I almost forgot, this is what the page should look like when you're done. It should look very similar to this, right? And that's it.